Okay, so the next thing we're going to do really quickly, as promised, is I'm going to show you how to create a private podcast using a Transistor. This is, again, ideal for those of you who want to sell audio based content, much like this here, although this would be content that you're recording without the benefit of a screen tutorial. So again, private podcasts are analogous to my eye, like an audio course or a supplement to like an audio, like sort of like a lead magnet. I hate those kind of terms, but something that you create that amplifies your own appearance of expertise or authority, or shares a unique approach to a particular problem or perspective that you can help your ideal audience either solve or kind of work through, etc. Very, very good for those of you also who aren't fans of recording, like sort of like like video tutorials, and would rather teach using your voice rather than teach using a visual presentation. I, for one, I can't stand video tutorials, right? So I'm much more interested in learning through something like an audiobook, through Audible, through podcasts that I subscribe to. Even membership or subscription based podcasts for me are much, much easier for my brain to sort of process than like sitting in front of a computer or staring into my phone watching some person talk to me from the other side of the screen. So for me, not only do I appreciate this as a creator, but I also really appreciate this process as a listener as well, or as a consumer of content. All right, so what we're going to do here, I just opened this brand new Transistor account. Today's the 19th of September, specifically for this video. So I'm going to show you. You want to go into your main screen, so you can see it says My Podcast, of which I have none because I just opened this account. My network, which is a totally different thing on Transistor. We'll cover that elsewhere if you're interested, and then add your first podcast. But the salient piece of this process is you don't want to go here. This is where most folks start when they're in Transistor, because this is where most people are actually intending to start. But you want to go down here, right, which is create a private podcast. So you want to configure your podcast here, and that button will bring up this, and we're just going to call this all right. You can add a picture. We're going to skip this for right now, but 10 things you want to know about making sushi but we're too afraid to ask, right? This could be any sort of topic that you want to create content around. So I'm making it as silly as possible. Then you have some other things we're not going to cover here because they're really not that important for right now. We're going to call this tiny. We're going to call this 2025. We're going to say in the Pacific time zone, which I'm not. Here's my email. Here's the episodic, right? But in this case, we actually want to go oldest to newest. All right, you can play with this, whatever it works for your preferences. I kind of prefer the episode or this serial approach when I'm doing these sorts of podcasts. All right, then you want to scroll down here. You can customize your welcome email. This is all done within Transistor, which is very cool. You can actually send subscribers an email each time a new episode is published, or you can toggle that off, and you can allow folks to unsubscribe from each new episode, or you can toggle that off. All right. You can also add a password, which we're not going to do here. They may actually bounce me back up top to to fill out some of the other stuff here, but I'm going to skip it for right now. All right, and it's good, right? So you can see here I need to add artwork, but you can see the podcast is private, which means it's not going to show up in any podcast sort of search engine. It's really, it's just like your favorite podcaster who charges a subscription or has members only content. This is the same thing. I mean, it's really that easy, and it can be that sophisticated at the same time. You have a list of your subscribers here. We don't have any yet. The analytics are here. And this is also really great. You can actually add, so this is me, but you can, as you can see here, but you can actually add members of your team to collaborate. So you can actually have, like, a sushi rice expert, a sushi fish expert, a sushi slicing, expert, etc., and create a course that you split the profits, right? So you can actually use another platform like Gumroad or Lemon Squeezy or MetaLabel or PayHip and create a product that distributes the profits, the revenues amongst several creators, and then give each of your members access to the back end of your Transistor private podcast, and they can add their own audience, right? So you can see, you can give people the admin role, which is me, the analytics role, which means they can also see the analytics, or just plain member role, which just allows them to log into this back end and add content to this particular podcast. All right, that's really the entirety of the process, and then there's obviously the step-by-step system for kind of getting folks to pay attention to your private podcast, which is a different thing altogether. And that's where some of this stuff comes in. You can integrate with various tools like Zapier, like Make, etc. And if you have a list, an email list, do some other cool things there by dint of incorporating your automations within your existing workflows. All right, we're going to go back up here to episodes, and then I'm going to add an episode, but I'm not going to do that on this video because I want to keep each of these relatively short, and then you'll see exactly. I mean, there's really nothing to this. It's tantamount to like recording a podcast episode and publishing it on a normal podcast. This is the same process. This is just done privately, which adds some cachet and some excitement and some, the appearance of exclusivity, because it's exclusive. You're not giving everyone access. You're only giving folks who are subscribed to the private feed access to your content, your course, your community, your cohort, your coaching, your whatever it is that you're offering your audience or client community. Teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. As always, I appreciate you. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask.